Denis MacShane, ex-Minister for Europe. Yesterday, the Supreme Court in the United Kingdom saying that the government's Rwanda plan, which, without anybody jumping up and down, plans to send 500 migrants, be they illegal or not, to Rwanda at a cost of 140 million quid, whilst 170,000 are waiting to be processed. Thoughts? Do you think Rishi should just abandon this? Do you think he's being pig-headed? What do you make of it?
I was very surprised, given Labour's difficulties, which were so well flagged up over the weekend, that Rishi blunders in and takes the story right into his camp. And in a sense, he's saying to the Supreme Court, which in every country is on a pedestal, it's worship. You don't challenge Supreme Courts. He's treating it like a VAR decision he doesn't like, and he's shouting and screaming like a Millwall manager, saying we're not having any of that. Look, we all can agree, I mean, even your paper, your colleague Harry Cole saying it's not going to happen. Right. This ridiculous line they've gone down. Immigration is a huge problem. I can bore you to death about it. Live with it, for many years as an MP. It's not got any better. But this sort of petulant screaming at the Supreme Court, he's not going to get anywhere. Certainly, it'll be solved by him being replaced by Keir Starmer.
Only other two countries to have left the ECHR, Russia, Belarus. Yes. How's that optics going to play out globally?
I mean, to be fair to him, he's not said that we're going to be leaving the ECHR. What he has said is that if we get this thing across the line with this emergency legislation, which, by the way, we haven't really got the details
and has to go through the Lords, and you know what they'll do.
Yeah, exactly. And the devil is really going to be in the detail about how this applies. He's not said we're going to leave the ECHR. What he has said is that if we get to a point where Rwanda flights can take off, any sort of these called pyjama injunctions, where in the middle of the night, ECHR judges say, actually, we can't do this, they put an injunction down, he says that he's going to ignore these so-called Rule 39 orders. And so I think that there's a halfway house here. The problem is that he is trying to pull two strands of his party together. You have one strand, the One Nation lot, who say, absolutely, on no circumstances should we be even talking about the ECHR. That is not the problem here. And then you have another wing, a very powerful, vocal wing, who are saying, we should basically get out of the ECHR, or at the very least, ignore their rulings completely.
And that, as we talked about Starmer, is his issue. My question to both of you is a question I set to Peter an hour ago. Is it about showing that, I do have that plan B that Suella Braverman accused me as Sunak of not having? Is it that, when he came out and bluffed, as you said, straight away? Or is it electioneering? Because Harry Cole's got it in The Sun. You're going to say it. Nicola and I have been saying it. It's not going to work, is it? It ain't probably, with the House of Lords, you raised your eyes, and all legal challenges going to make any difference. So why don't we have a politician who stands in front of the British people, as I said an hour ago, and go, do you know what, I want to stop the boats. This was our plan. It's not going to work. I'm going to come up with something else, which is make the blimmin' Home Office fit for purpose. Why don't they do that, gentlemen? That's what I don't get.
It's a very half-baked idea. Even if it goes through, it's going to get bunged up in the courts for months and months and months. The same again. We're probably going to get into an election, and then potentially Rishi Sunak stands up and goes, vote for me and we will get this plan through. It could be the wedge issue, which he has been hoping for. The problem is that he wanted to put clear blue water with the Tories and Labour with this issue, and he's done the opposite. He's actually inflamed the own divisions in his own party.
Well, James Cleverly, of course, now Home Secretary of about 48 hours, he was on our sister station, Times Radio, this morning, saying that any changes to a treaty or creation of a treaty with Rwanda could be done very, very quickly. And it would be a very, very speedy process. So an emphasis there on how quickly this could be done.
The treaty is international law. We signed the first one with Portugal in 1387. And since then, all we've been doing is drinking port. It's worked very, very well. It's international law. It has to go through lots of legal processes. It has to be ratified by the Commons, ratified by laws. And I'm sorry, I don't mind anything. Right, in every other European country, the immigration problem's far worse. You don't want to talk about France, Jeremy, fair enough, but they've got far more illegals and other problems coming in.
The British people who are
I know, because they're not told. And nobody has actually got a solution. I
just don't understand, Dennis, how politicians continually, and I hold anybody in the last 30 years responsible for this, right? I don't understand. All I ever hear about is the Home Office isn't fit for purpose. Well, Dan will have the foresight to do something about it. Oh, we're only in for 5 years. It doesn't matter. That's not good enough.
We didn't have this problem prior to 2016, though, in the same way that we do have it now. We have the problem.
Hold on, Minister for Europe's taken your
Not in the same way, Dennis. I'm not we had the similar problems back then.
On the contrary, we had non-stop problems.
There wasn't a small boats crisis.
No, because they came in 2 lorries.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm
And they
saying
came
the small
in-
boats
they
crisis.
came in-
How do we stop the lorries?
Well, we stopped the lorries by having much tougher. We cooperated with the French.
There we go, because we cooperated with the French.
And we had very,
Minister for
very
Europe.
tough. No. We one of the things the French were quite happy was to see the controls put on English soil. I was there when that was discussed with Chirac. We had the Treaty of Le Touquet, another treaty, and Blair said, "You must be joking. The last thing I want is every wannabe who wants to get into England arriving legally on British soil." So
Blair said that, did he?
Sort them out. Keep the whole thing in France. Make it a bit of a French problem.
Yes.
Tony
And
Blair
that's what
said
we're
that,
lacking
did he?
right now.
Yes.